Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from ThoughtChange.com. We are exploring the mystical side of life. Once again, this week, we have numerologist Jesse Kelsey with us. Welcome, Jesse.
Hi, Linda. It's great to be here.
Jesse, I'm curious why you started studying numbers. How did they call you?
So, in my younger days, Linda, I was attracted to numbers and numerology when I was in India. But then, being fairly young at that time, I never applied it, because I never knew much, you see. So after I came to the United States in 1988, I had my fair share of challenges like most immigrants do, right? And I was trying to find my way here in this country. And then I started applying whatever basic I knew, and I experimented with it a little bit, and then I realized how it was helping me. And then with time, I just kept growing by itself. I met people, and then the caravan got bigger and bigger, right? And it came in strongly when I was trying to unlock those doors that I was, stuck on to open, right? That is the time this crept in and helped me a lot. And then from there, it went on to the people I met. Yes.
Numerology is a really interesting science because you can use it for self-knowledge. You can learn your life path, your destiny, things like that. But you can also make changes by applying numbers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. See, what happens is, when we look at someone's chart, right, we look at the basic information, which is the date of birth, right? It all starts from there. And then from the date of birth, we zone in into the best numbers, which is actually the best planetary energy. That'll be good for that individual. And then from there, it's all about harmonizing energy, So I don't call this predictive. I call this more solution-based, where we help people find the best planets, and then we fine-tune the energies around those planetary energies that work for them. Maybe it's their house, the name, the business address, the phone numbers, the cars, the gems, or whatever, right? And so that's how it starts helping them, and it works. Otherwise, you find a lot of people, right? They just be butting heads all their lives, right? They don't know what to do, and it's like an experiment, right? And they're just wondering what happened. I worked so hard and I tried so hard, and the end result was, not what they wanted. So the science that I practice, astronumerology, is more it's numbers and planetary energy together, right? And so that's how we use it. And by the grace of God, over the years, I've been very fortunate to work with many, many, many people around the world and positively, help them, right, improve their lives in many, many ways.
So is it that each planet correlates with a specific numeric energy?
Yes, you're right. So see, like the energy of number 1 is the energy of Sun, 2 is Moon, 3 is Jupiter, 4 is Uranus, 5 is Mercury, 6 is Venus, 7 is Neptune, 8 is Saturn, and 9 is Mars. So this is basic numerology, right? So that's how it goes. So let me give you a basic example. Some numbers like the number 1 and the number 8, right, which is Sun and Saturn. Sun and Saturn traditionally don't get along very well. Or the number 2 and the number 8 again, Moon and Saturn, they don't get along very well. Or the number 5, which is Mercury, and the 9, Mars, they always collide, right? It's colliding energy. So say, for example, the first one, if you're living in a house number 18, 1-8, right? So you got Sun and Saturn on the door, right? And so what happens is, even if you have the best date of birth, right, you'll definitely attract things like cuts, injuries, accidents, family quarrel, legal trouble, separation. That energy will come sit in front of the door all the time, right? But you'd excel if you're in the medical field, or if you're in law enforcement, right? Or you're a surgeon, something like that. You'll excel in those fields professionally. Personally, you'll be really challenged, right? And then you keep wondering, what did I do? I had the best feng shui, and I had the best consultant, and I got the energy cleared or whatever, right? But that number on the door has to be patched. See, that energy has to be corrected for it to flow smoothly, right? I've seen this many times. I've seen many homes here, which were, fixed by feng shui consultants, but when I look at the number right there, the feng shui couldn't help it.
Each number carries its own energy, and it's not just how it correlates with the energy that you carry on your life path.
Exactly.
Jesse, for any of the listeners who don't know how to figure out their life path, could you just give us a basic tutorial how to find the number?
See what happens is, I go from the basic, the very basic, the foundation, right, which is the date of birth, right? And from the date of birth, I derive the best planetary energy. There's a little bit of a calculation involved in there, which would take some time to tell you. But that's how it all starts. I get the basic code, right? And from there, it's about fine-tuning. I use the Chaldean code, the Chaldean code, which is available online. Anybody can go and access that. And then I just apply that code to your numbers, your name and everything else. But then the secret still lies in the basic stuff, right? Which needs a little bit of work, which changes with every date of birth. So, but there's one example that I can tell you. There's one way of looking at one number. If you look at my book, right in the beginning, I have given one example. I'll tell you what page it is. And that is about, if you see a page 5, right, I've talked about Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and the numbers that relate with them. So, see, in your case, one of the numbers that rules you is number 4, because Uranus, and 4 and 8 actually, because Uranus and Saturn both have a mild influence on your energy. So these planetary energies will work on you, but these are not the best numbers to have, right? So these have to be shielded in some way, and then we have to find stronger vibrations to overpower these, right? And then work the bigger part. So it's a little tricky, it's not like you can just walk in and do it, right?
And let's say you add your month, you add your day, and you add your year together to get down to one number, but there's so much more to it than just that.
It's way more complicated than just adding those numbers, You'll have to look at those planetary energies. You have to look at the year you're entering, you have to look at the year you are in, right? And of course, what rules you, right? And then it has to be fine-tuned and balanced. So then many numbers, like I give you an example, number 18, right? 1-8. So I am a number 9, right? Mars rules me. And the title of the book also has the energy of Mars, which is number 9. I kept it that way. But now say if you say, hey, Jesse, you're a number 9, I'll rent you a house number 1080 for free. Will you go and stay there? I said, never, even if you give it to me for free, because I know what it does, right? But if you tell me, hey, I have house number, 306, do you want that? Oh, I said, I'll take it, absolutely. Because I know, what it will do, because I've lived in homes like that, right?
Specifically talking about addresses, is it just like the house number, or do you have to figure out like the street name in the address as well?
Prime, look at the number on the door. Whatever is stuck on the door, it's a condo or or a residence, right? Whatever number sits outside, it's all planets up there, And that energy, yeah, very important. So is your business too, right? People create businesses and get into wrong places, and then you know what happens after that.
I'll have to check the numerology of my business, actually. It's very interesting. I laugh as we talk because I mentioned to you before we hit record that I'm a 7, both in my birthday and my birth name. I also live at 106, which is a 7.
106. 106, it is, how long have you lived here?
I have lived here for just over 20 years.
Yeah. 106 sometimes brings some deception, right? You know how it is.
Well, it's been a journey, let's say that,
Yeah, deception, yeah, it brings in some deception. And 106 also, you need to watch your hands when you're cooking in the kitchen, right? Fire. And you have to watch legs again, second chakra down to the feet, right? But be careful, bones and stomach, yeah.
Well, one of these days we'll move,
Yeah, I think it'll be a good idea to do that.
Okay, I'll poke the hubby.
Yeah.
What about the name? Do you take that into account in any way in the work that you do?
Of course, name is very important. Your name is very important because that's what vibrates in the universe, right? And that's what you're known by. So that vibration is constantly there. And names are very, very important, for success, for your well-being, And so look at something right here, 4, 5, 10. So you have Mercury on your, as per the Vedic astrology, Linda. So yeah, so you got Mercury energy on the first name, which is kind of good. It's communication is what you do, right? You're communicating. Okay? So that comes from that name there. So people popularly call you by that name. Everyone
Yes.
calls it by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's vibrating. And that Mercury energy also connects with the ruler, Uranus and Saturn, because Uranus rules you, but Saturn also has a mild influence on your energy. And Saturn can work quite well with Mercury, which is in number 5, right? So that connects quite well. It's a very fine balance that you have. And yeah, that's really good.
Very interesting. Now, this is my married name, right? Like I'm curious as to how the name you currently go by compared to what you were given at birth.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you have now? What do you use now?
I use Linda Lang.
Yeah, that's what I worked on, Linda. Yeah. So yeah.
So the birth name doesn't.
Whatever you use now, right? What's it's now, it's today, right? It's today. We go with today.
And if you have a nickname or whatever, then
Yeah, that's important too. Nickname's important. What is that?
oh, I don't have one. Mom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
nickname's
have one.
important too, by the way. That vibrates too. When your friends call you, that is also important. So it's about what vibrates and what is said, it sends that, it rings.
Well, it's like a morphogenic field, right? Whenever anyone's saying your name, they're adding energy to it, right?
Exactly, exactly. See, beams in the universe. Beams in the universe. Name's very important, very important.
Well, I'm glad to know I've chosen numerology well, accidentally.
Uh-huh.
How I met my husband was very interesting because I was just, like I was a teenager and I asked the universe or God for a boyfriend with an easy last name for some unbeknownst reason. And along came my husband, and it works out kind of well.
That is so wonderful, yeah. So that means the universe listens to you, huh? It does, absolutely does, yeah.
The universe listens to all of us, right?
Yeah, it does.
So, what happens if people find themselves in a situation where their numbers don't line up very well?
Yeah, so then it's about fine-tuning the energy. And the first thing we go is you work the name energy. We'll tweak the name energy. And by that, what I mean is we can add a certain letter or remove a letter or, just make that energy vibrate to their date of birth. But if the date of birth is not that strong, then we can, there are other numbers that we can see which are compatible to that date of birth. And we can raise the energy of that name to a higher vibration by tweaking the energy. Just a slight name change, I just believe in a little bit. I don't believe in, changing the name drastically. I just believe in making a small tweak here and there so the pronunciation remains the same, but the energy changes on the name. So we've done this all the time, and it works really well. And then, with the gemstones, right? People wear all kinds of gemstones, if you notice, right? And these gemstones, again, have a relationship with your date of birth. So it is very important to wear the right ones, you know? You shouldn't wear any gemstone because, gemstones also connect with the chakra energy as well, right? And so if you wear the wrong ones, right, it'll affect the flow of light in your body, right? And so those have to be worn very carefully too. And those can also bring a lot of luck, they can bring a lot of energy and all luck.
So, do you explain that in your book?
Yes, I've talked about that extensively.
It's very interesting, actually. So, Jesse, you told me I would do well to have golden sapphire or citrine color.
Yes. And then what happens is typically, yellow sapphire, if you look at a lot of celebrities in the Bollywood industry, they wear a yellow sapphire. They wear it in the right pointer finger all the time. It's always worn in gold, all right? Or, for certain signs, right? I mean, you can just wear more gold, You can wear gold in any form to enhance the energy of Jupiter because Jupiter likes the color yellow. It likes gold, right? So wearing a gold chain is also very. And then I've also seen that, if people have, relationships go up and down, personal relationships, right? But I've realized that, if you just wear a gold chain now, a gold chain to improve your relationship with your spouse, sometimes, if it's not that good, that helps too because it strengthens the energy of Jupiter, and Jupiter calms the frequency down and it brings it down, right? So it's a very good.
And good luck, too.
Good, of course, good luck, yeah. So, yeah, that's another way of enhancing Jupiter because, if you have a strong Jupiter, right, your life will become so much easier, easy to live, right?
Easy and inspired, right?
Inspired, yes. The energy of Jupiter also asks you to, give all the time. You need to make some donations and help. You can help young children, with school books, or you can help young women who are struggling, who need help to get married, or who need any kind of help with the money, right? or is a trust or a charity, an organization which is supporting young women, right? If you start donating there, that's also very good for to strengthen Jupiter. And then I like helping young kids or autistic kids, with all kinds of help, right? That also is very good for strengthening Jupiter. It's just not about just wearing the stone. You have to, do that part too. It's the giver, right? You have to give. You have to give to help.
Yeah. Well, I think you almost have to give in order to have that sense of contribution and purpose and fulfillment then, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win situation.
It is. You're right. Absolutely. Win-win-win. Yeah.
So for all of the listeners who are really interested in how they can start working with their numerology, how would you recommend that they start?
So there are many books on numbers, as you know. I have 2 books out. The first one is called The Power of Home Numbers. And that is, I've given numerous examples in that book about home numbers and street numbers because, I've researched that for many, many years. And then the second one is all about numbers. This is, more about looking at your personal codes, energies, gems, crystals, businesses, right? So I've given many examples in this book. And if you're a learner, right, and if you are researching, you get a lot of information from here that you could use very successfully. Both these books, you can buy them from Amazon, The Power of Home Numbers or All About Numbers by Jesse Kalsi, or you can go to my website, which is jessekalsi.com. It's spelled JESSEKALSI.com. And you can go there. You can, book a consultation with me if you so like, or you can buy the books from there as well.
What else would you like to share about that magical path of working with your numbers instead of randomly being at the mercy?
Yeah. So see, what I've written in these books is my life experience, right? I've not just, made anything up. It's applied. It's applied to my life, right? And I'd like the audience, the listeners to know that there's a lot of information out there, right? And these books, would definitely, educate you. They'll make you wiser, right? You'll learn a lot from them, and you'll be able to maybe open many unblocked doors that have been trying for many years.
And of course, there are many people who think that numbers are the language of the universe, right?
That is so true. Yes. Yes, they are. Absolutely right.
So I'm curious as to playing with numbers for my own self. I have pretty good numbers when you peeked at it. So in order to make my home a little bit more compatible with my numerology, like could I add maybe an A on it, like 106A?
You can, but then we'll have to look at the numbers of other people in the house as well, right? So we can't patch the house based on one number, see?
Of course. And so let's say for all of the listeners, if they're in a relationship with someone, they have their numbers, their partner has numbers. How does that correlate relationship wise?
Oh, that's really important. The numbers, so your basic energy has to match somewhere, right? Your basic numerology has to match somewhere. So, for example, someone has a lot of Mars energy, right? Mars is number 9 energy. And then you end up with a partner who has a lot of Saturn energy and number 8 energy, right? So that might be, love for a short time because, these 2 planets are very, conflicting energy, right? Mars and Saturn will find a way to collide, right? So is Sun or Saturn, or so is Mercury and Mars. And so the thing is that these numbers can come in many ways. It can come on your house, your date of birth, your name, many, many ways, right? So a lot has to be looked at before we fine tune the energy, right?
Is it possible? Can you fine tune the energy between 2 numbers that are conflicted, 2 people?
Of course. Yeah, we can definitely. The first basic thing to basically do is look at the names, how the names kind of, calling each other, See that vibration, that it starts from there, attraction, right? The names are looked at first, and if not adjusted or fine-tuned, right? And then the rest of it comes. So that's the way you start, right?
Very interesting. Well, I'm going to go play, Jesse. Thank you so much for being my guest. Would you please share your website once again?
Okay, so my website is jessekalsi.com. It's spelled JesseKalsi.com.
Thanks, Jesse, for being my guest and enlightening us on the science of numbers. And thank you for listening to this week's edition of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. You will find all of our conversations on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Come visit me at thoughtchange.com to learn what energy medicine can do for you. While you're there, check out my program, Alchemy from the Inside Out. Let's bring a little bit of magic into your life. That's it for this week. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.